Are we in there?
Oh man,
Are you ready to
you can.
pod? Are you ready to pod?
I've missed that so much, Eddie.
No, so welcome to the Lawyers for Musicians podcast. This is episode 15, episode 2 of Quarantine Radio, coming to you live from my house, your house, and everyone else's houses, based upon social distancing rules. But no, so today's episode is more or less getting back into like what artists can do during the quarantine, what things they can do to stay productive, and then just giving a little forecast on what the landscape of live music is going to look like when all of this is over, and what the opportunities will look like for independent artists and also major artists. So, yeah, you want to give an introduction to yourself, tell the people what you do, who you are, and
For
how
sure.
you tie into live music. Man.
For sure. Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here for episode 15, the quarantine edition. I'm Akin. I'm an agent at CAA. I've been there for 7 years. I look after a bunch of clients that fall into sort of like the pop world, the hip hop world, and the R&B world. I am, I do a lot of territorial booking. Obviously, I'm responsible for a handful of acts as well. You know, and I guess if I was to just give you guys a bit of a start as to how I kind of broke into the industry, I had interned for a bunch of companies before I got to CAA. So I'd interned at Clear Channel as a freshman in college. I'd interned at BET for a period of time. I actually interned at CAA in New York before I ended up moving to LA to work there. And in becoming an agent at CAA, I kind of had to work my way up, right? Like, everybody knows the story about how you work your way up from the mailroom and sort of climb the ranks. But I worked for 3 different agents before I became an agent at CAA. So Rob Light, who is a partner and, our department head. I worked for Andrew Simon, who looks after a bunch of pop punk bands, including Fall Out Boy and 21 Pilots and Panic at the Disco. And then I worked for Brian Manning, who looks after a bunch of pop clients. Meghan Trainor. He was booking One Direction at the time. A bunch of big acts. So, I guess the way in which I tie into the whole music space is I'm just, I'm booking shows for our clients and trying to find opportunities as relates to live events, which is a little interesting now given the COVID situation. But, here we are.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So my relationship with Akin is he's on our team with Doja, and so I know how things are going for her firsthand, but she's at a different spot than most artists are at, where she's still getting paid offers to do live streaming and do different events. For most of the people that, everybody except for that sort of top echelon, how are you seeing this affect them? Because we have clients that are well-known artists, but 90% of their revenue was generated from live shows. And now they might be able to DJ or do something online and get donations or something. But what are you seeing for those kind of artists?
That's a good question. Everybody's in the same sort of boat, man. Even the upper echelon of artists, the sorts of opportunities that an artist like Doja's seeing, they're still pretty few and far between, I would say. I think a lot of brands and a lot of companies are still unsure if they want to spend money in this current climate and how they're going to spend that money, right? Like, it's finite. So people are sort of figuring out other places to put that money as opposed to spending it on artists. As far as what I'm seeing right now, there is first of all, it's a Wild West and there's a lot of opportunity. And I think a lot of artists are taking it upon themselves to sort of find ways to connect with their fans. That looks like a lot of live streaming right now. So I think Instagram Live has been a very interesting space. You'll see artists like Tory Lanez, who I think has done a great job of just sort of corralling his fan base and using the universal downtime as a way to get everybody to do the same thing. I think what Charlie XCX has been doing has been interesting, right? Hosting Zoom calls and getting feedback on her music and on her album making process, right? I'm seeing a lot of artists reach out to brands to jump on their channels to do live streams. What I wish I was seeing more of, I think that right now is a great time for artists to sort of own their community. And I think there's a great opportunity for the resurgence of fan clubs and people to find ways to, add value to your core, right? Maybe it is sending them demo tracks or letting them watch you produce in the studio. But I feel like, right now is sort of the best time to re-engage in that.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of that, and I think that Twitch is probably the biggest benefactor of everything right now. What was a gaming platform and slowly is morphed into just a celebrity / music hangout. But I guess the other thing that I've seen is a lot of these sort of like well, they're not impromptu, semi-planned festivals, online festivals. Like I just got off a call with someone who's trying to put one together. Last one they did, they raised like $300,000 for charity. But now the next one they want to do, they actually want to have the artist make some money. So as someone who books talent and knowing the sort of, where things are looking like, I think it's optimistic to think that tours are really going to happen this fall even.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
there's some pretty strong evidence that it might not happen till fall of next year.
Yeah.
Do you see, like, is CAA or is anybody within your world talking about like, hey, we need to get into this sort of line booking game and trying to put these things together?
Yeah, so a couple things to your point. I think that, it's tough to say right now. I think with every week that passes, we get new information, whether it's CNN saying that Oxford thinks they have a vaccine that'll be ready by September, or Eric Garcetti saying that, there aren't going to be any live events in LA until 2021, right? Like nobody really knows. So that's the tough part about all this. We're all sort of just taking it day by day and processing information as we get it and trying to make decisions that are best for our clients. To your point, Josh, every day it seems like there is a new live streaming centered platform that's reaching out to us and trying to sell us on the benefits of why our artists should be using their platform. I think incumbents like Twitch obviously have a great advantage. I saw yesterday they announced that they have a partnership with SoundCloud now that's going to allow artists to monetize in Twitch by selling ads against their stream. So that's great. I think not even, well, to backing up a step, internally we've put together teams of people that are sort of diving deep into all of the new players that I guess are popping up in this space. I think it's tough, right? I think there's sort of two buckets of clients that we've talked about this. We've talked about this internally. There's a type of client that's going to come to the live stream with their audience and be able to power it regardless of what it is, right? So a 21 Pilots, a Doja Cat, Ariana Grande, right? Like those sorts of artists come with a very large audience. But then you've got the large majority of artists, which is, who aren't at that level yet, who are trying to grow their profile online, and they need platforms that have built-in community or platforms that have strong channels that have programming that will help them gain fans, right? So
Right.
In each live streaming company that we're talking to, we're trying to sort of evaluate them based on those two types of artists, because I think that sort of, I would say, covers the large majority of artists. It's like, which ones make the most sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think, Eddie, I don't know what you've seen on your end, but like I've seen smaller independent artists that are like, they're actually not mad at the situation because they can do online shows and, maybe they could play a show in Chicago and draw 500 people. But if they do an online show and they promote it the right way, they can get 5,000 people. And if everybody puts $1 in, they're making good money. So it's just a matter of seeing how it's going to trickle down and how long, how people can take advantage of it the smartest way. I guess one other question that for you, Akin, that I'm sure you guys aren't signing new talent right now. Like, I have had a lot of artists be like, well, what do we do? Like, we were trying to get a booking agent, and now, I mean, what's the story there?
It's a conversation we've had too, and it's funny, right? Because I think that now more than ever, we have more time to listen to stuff, right? Like, people send us music all the time, and you don't always get to it immediately. So we're getting a chance to listen to music we've been sent. We're getting a chance to listen to albums we've wanted to listen to for the last 3 weeks, and we just haven't been able to. So our ears are still open. I think, a lot of what it is for us is still trying to find ways to just connect with those artists we're interested in, or add value in ways outside of just the show booking and provide information. I think right now is a very scary time for a lot of people that, that have booking agents, or well, particularly for people who don't have booking agents, or people who are at agencies that maybe aren't getting real-time information, right? And they're relying on sources like CNN or their local news to feed them with what's happening on the ground. And we're fortunate enough internally that our department heads are having conversations with the heads of the promoters, the promotion companies, right? The heads of the sports leagues, right? So I think part of the benefit for us is just being able to talk to our clients in real time about what Michael Rapino's thinking, or what Jay Marciano's thinking, right? Like, that's helpful. I don't know that we're doing too much signing, but I do think that we're still open to connecting and finding ways to add value, especially if we're interested in the artist. I think that the situation we're in right now is hopefully temporary, right? So at some point we'll have to get back to living our lives.
So Eddie, you should send your mixtape.
Yeah, right?
Oh, man.
Needed.
They do.
So have there been, I guess, a different approach now with when you're dealing with artists? It's like how to become like almost a virtual star. So you mentioned Tory Lanez earlier. I think he like tripled his IG followers just from doing the quarantine radio. So two parts. Was it like, okay, how can we now talk to artists becoming more of a virtual person? And then is that going to be some type of like a new norm even when we get back to what we consider regular live performances? Will this virtual world exist, do you think, after the quarantine is over?
Wow. I mean, it's a good question. I think as far as the rules to engagement go, like, there are definitely best practices that I think you and I both know, and maybe like, a few tips and tricks that we might not know that might take it over the edge. I think at the end of the day, part of what succeeding online is about having a authentic personality and an angle. And it's still about connecting. I think, again, not to keep going back to Doja Cat, but I think Doja Cat is
please do.
I think she's such a unique example because she's one of those artists that just gets it innately, right? Like, you've got a crop of these young artists who are coming up that just sort of understand what it means to be online and to create their art online and to express themselves online. And I feel like she does such a good job at that rules and best practices are helpful, but I think at the end of the day, if you don't really have that unique perspective, I think that's really hard to sort of set yourself apart. As far as whether or not the virtual world exists after this, I would like to think so. I think what's happening right now is just sort of an acceleration of what was already happening, right? Like, Twitch as a platform already existed. Zoom as a platform already existed. There were particular use cases for a lot of these platforms. I think that what COVID-19 did is just sort of increase awareness and speed up our trajectory in terms of getting there. But that's just my own personal take.
One more question for you, Akin, and then you can be on your merry way. And because this is a lawyer for musicians podcast, right? So one thing that we talked about the last time was this whole notion of force majeure, which like you learn in law school and then you immediately forget it because it's never come into use right now.
Until the pandemic hits, yeah.
Until the pandemic hits. So, I mean, a question for people who had booked events or had bought tickets or whatever. I mean, are you finding promoters, are you finding venues that are refusing to offer reimbursements, that are saying, no, this doesn't exist? Do you guys as agents, because I know from my perspective, you guys already do most of the agreements on your end and
Mhm.
kind of send them to us for approval. What has there been any back and forth over that, or are people just like, yeah, okay, we got to give you
Man,
your money back?
there's been a lot of gray area with all of this, right? Like this isn't like, especially as things were starting to unfurl, right? And it was like this local municipality shut down, but like the one next door is still operating, right? Or like the
Yeah,
WHO says it's a global pandemic, but our mayor still hasn't told us that we can't do events. So, but we want to cancel anyway, right? So like there was a lot of gray area that existed before this thing really hit its peak.
yeah,
So that was difficult to navigate. As far as promoters and refunds go, um, I think anybody who wasn't initially sort of has made plans to, I think what's really sort of hurting them or pushing them to make those or to give those refunds back is like it's fans, right? Like
yeah,
they, I think a lot of promoters are afraid of being in a bad spot with their fans. There were festivals that we had booked our artists on that didn't want to give money back to their fans, but were asking for money back from clients, and that created a weird situation where it's like if you're not refunding the fans, you can't come to the artist and ask for money, right? So I would say by and large, most promoters are engaging in not giving refunds, and the few that initially were not planning to have sort of they've broke, and they're doing the right thing.
okay, all right,
Yeah.
good. All right, Eddie, you got anything else for our booking expert?
Uh, no, man, it's just like I just wanted somebody to come on, give a little forecast of what's going on, where they see things going, any advice that they can give to independent artists. The one thing it's almost like a comment and a question is seeing, I feel like it's going to bottleneck once venues open back up, and it's only going to go to anyone that's signed with a Live Nation. So our independent artists, not well, Live Nation, because they're essentially one of the larger
No, I
uh,
know what you mean.
agencies. So and then that bottleneck of them being first, and then all of Rusty's independent artists having a hard time getting shows. So just any advice, if you see that as the future, and any potential advice you can pass on to those type of artists to just stay relevant.
Yeah. So good point. I think that what may happen, and still not sure if this is what's good, how it's going to actually play out, but a lot of the shows that were on sale or planning to, on sale that moved will probably get first priority in getting new dates as they reschedule. And then I think that anything else after that will have an opportunity to try to secure real estate and dates in some of these venues. Um, Independent artists, you know, I think what's good to know is that a lot of the venues are taking this into account and understand the sort of traffic that we're going to see in the fall if shows play out and at the top of next year. And some venues are moving to early and late shows to accommodate for additional traffic. So, they're going to try to turn their room around to allow people to allow more people to play in the rooms. I think the other thing that shouldn't let independent artists rest a little easy is a lot of promoters are being very judicious about giving people, like, some artists want to do 1+1 dates, which is like, we'll hold 2 dates, and if the first one sells out, we'll roll into the second one and put it on sale. A lot of promoters aren't as quick to say yes to deals like that, with the understanding that there are a lot of people that are going to want to come and play shows, right? So, I would like to think that promoters are being conscientious of what's happening, and will hopefully do right by independent artists. And I think I would definitely implore independent artists to still reach out to booking agents and try to make that connection, because again, like, this will subside at some point, and we'll return to life as normal, and there's no harm in sort of getting the wheels going.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate your expertise. If there's anything you want to plug, you got your own mixtape or anything like that, you can plug it to our parents who are listening and anything else. Otherwise, I'll just talk to you probably next week.
Sounds good, man. Just go cop Eddie shit. I appreciate y'all.
All right, Akin.
Thank you for having me.
No doubt.
Yep.
Hey,
right.
Terrell,
Later.
can you hear us? You there, Terrell?
What up? Yeah, I'm here.
All right, cool. What's going on, brother?
Look at that segue. That was like professional right there.
Yeah, man. You that's what we have producers with us there.
Yeah.
And then we got the orange
One
hat
guest to the next.
matching the background. Okay, this is perfect here. And then I'm taking care of you right here, Rello. You see me?
Yeah, I see that. Represent, man.
No doubt. So this is the Lawyers for Musicians podcast. Typically, we're talking about music law, things of the nature. But now we're with quarantine radio. We have a lot of other issues going on out there. So Terrell Jones, I wanted to bring you in, owner of Fat Tiger Workshop, as an actual retail owner of a brick and mortar shop who does well on both the physical location and online. Speaking on how life has been since the quarantine happened for you. And then more importantly, this new program that you started where I guess we can start there with you releasing the shirt and then the proceeds of the shirt going to people affected by COVID.
Yeah.
I think that was pretty amazing. So how did that come about?
I think it was just we're being a little bit older now and kind of being in the streetwear for 15 years. I just remember when there was harder times for me, and I just didn't know where I was gonna get $50 from, let alone my rent or my this or my that. So I think a lot of times I take moments in my past and try to like help out somebody that might be in the same position I was years ago. And having somebody help you, man, that should go a long way. Even if it's just a little bit of a push or a little bit of assistance, it like raises your morale, boosts your energy, it lets you know somebody cares, and that's kind of what we wanted to do, to just let the people that support Fat Tiger, let them know that we're not just here to absorb all of your money and then run off and say, oh yeah, man, it's bad for everybody. We're trying to find a way to at least help as many people as we can. I mean, we're not the federal government. We can't give out, thousands and thousands of dollars in checks, but we
Apparently they ran out of that money too.
Yeah.
No, but that's dope because you're from the perspective of where you could have easily been like, I'm a small business owner, I'm hurting too, woe is me, and then just played the victim role, where you took it and put that cape on your back and was like, all right, I'm actually going to do something for the people. And I think from that, even if it's what the smallest amounts, I think, like you said, it gives hope. You know that there's still that community out there. And I think that's one of the important things that we have to do right now is still build that community. And I think the shop that you guys created, that was the origin. I don't know if that was like actually in your mission statement, but it always seemed like the community and impacting the community was super important to you guys.
Yeah, and I think we're like true organic Chicago guys who grew up in Chicago and love Chicago and never wanted to leave Chicago. So community is kind of like embedded in us. And it is, and not to take anything away from like any of the other shops, but a lot of the other shops, you don't know who fucking owns it. You don't know where these people are from. You just know it's just a space and it's there. I think with us, we're the only people that you can say, oh, look, those are Chicago guys right there with a Chicago store and the Chicago attitude. So with us, it's almost like it's our like duty to show up when we have to. And this is a unpopular opinion, but I think it's the truth. When everything first hit, the first 2 weeks, and everybody was saying, my business is going under right now. If you have a business and your shit is dead in 2 weeks, I have news for you. It was probably dead 3 months ago.
Good point.
Right now, you're using this crisis you're using the crisis unfairly And now you're blocking somebody who I think a person who was in need during this crisis is like, damn, I have a business that's running great, but right now we have to stop for 3 months, and now I'm gonna be messed up 90 days from now. Not like, oh man, on day 2 I fired everybody and it's over with.
Right.
Yeah.
Like
You
if
know,
you're
you
on the edge
already,
of bankruptcy, you're already on the edge of bankruptcy before this.
yeah,
even
you
happened.
already have picked, you already have looked at the paperwork, man. So
Yeah, I mean,
I think it's,
we definitely had clients that were in restaurants and bars and music that were like, man, I had one foot out the door anyway. Like, this
yeah,
is all I needed to just be like, all right, well, I can't overcome this, so I'm calling it.
yeah. And we didn't want to show up with that attitude. Our attitude with this whole thing is like, hey man, we were standing before this shit happened and we'll be standing after it happens. And we want to kind of put that kind of energy on everybody else. Like, yo, we're gonna make it through this. Everybody don't have to say, man, let's just throw in the towel and blah blah blah. It's like, yo, man, it's people in our past have dealt with, you know, a lot of trials and tribulations too. We have to kind of just figure this out and just, you know, stay strong for yourself, for your mom, for your brother, for your sister, for your kids.
Right.
And that's the energy over here with us. I think we generally don't have like that type of throw in the towel energy. And
Did you see, was the idea for the for you guys, why don't you walk people through what you guys actually did? You came up with a t-shirt, right? And then the proceeds went to those in need.
yeah. So we put money on top of it, but we came up with a t-shirt, and basically the simple concept for the t-shirt is like it's simply just a fundraising t-shirt.
Right.
So hey, you buy this and you buy this and most of the proceeds go to trying to help somebody that might need it. So we basically send out $150 digital payments to 280 people. So, and one thing I kind of want to touch on, you can't sell, and you have to, I feel like because we've done a nice job of balancing our business, we didn't want to go in this with the wrong idea of saying, if we sell X amount of t-shirts, we have to give all of this money to all of these people, because you're going to drown like that. You got to figure, no matter what, you still have to pay sales tax on that. You still have to pay fucking income tax on that. You still have to pay to get all of this stuff shipped. You still have to pay somebody to ship it. So we also wanted to like go about it the smart way, balance everything out, and genuinely give out as much as we could and not make like false promises.
Right. Are you seeing anybody else that's sort of in the streetwear or, you know, in the same type of lane as you guys are in, doing anything similar, whether it's in Chicago or New York or LA or elsewhere?
I said the most common thing I see is people saying like a small, like 10 or 20% of standard sales will go to a relief fund or go to a charity or a particular like food place. That's the most common thing I see. As far as like big rollout, I'm not sure. I know you're gonna see a lot of bigger brands maybe collaborate with independent brands and try to do something charitable. I think sometimes that stuff becomes more about the look and less about actually trying to help somebody.
Right.
But as far as somebody saying like, yo, like, you know, we have this dedicated operation just for like the people that are like around us or that support us or whatever, I can't say that I've peeped any projects like that, but that don't mean they don't exist.
Right.
And I don't think I've seen projects where I've seen charity, donate to charity, but for you guys to actually identify the individuals and to donate to them directly. Because I know there is a stigma when it comes to pandemics and outbreaks, things of that nature, and they tell people to donate to these charities and no one knowing where that money is actually going.
Yeah.
You know, like being able to identify now, you just say 280. Those 280 people could go on Twitter right now and post a picture saying, hey, this is confirmation that I received something. So
yeah,
You rarely see a situation where people are reaching out directly and touching the people as opposed to just saying, hey, I gave to a charity and hopefully the charity does the right job.
Yeah, and that's my issue with a charity, and it also goes to just understanding how businesses work. If I give Blue Cross and Blue Shield $20,000, that $20,000 in theory may not instantly go to help somebody because Blue Cross and Blue Shield is a business. That $20,000 goes to their overall fund to kind of run their operation. And there's nothing wrong with like donating to keep. I think when you give to a charity, you're essentially donating to keep the operation going.
Right.
I don't think you should donate to a charity, to most charities thinking, I'm donating to this to directly go to this, because it doesn't work like that. You can't, your money keeps them going. Your money doesn't control their agenda or control their mission. They already have a mission set in place. So if you feel like you like specifically want to help a segment of people, you kind of have to like get your hands dirty and get out here and figure out how can you do that personally.
Find those
because even even on the have you guys seen the all-in challenge that the guys from Fanatics is doing? He's challenging all these people, and if you donate, you get to have a crazy experience. So like one was you put in $10, you get 10 entries to go play golf with Justin Timberlake and Bill Murray at Pebble Beach. And like Mark Cuban has one where if you donate to his, you get to play a preseason game with the Cavs or with the Mavericks. So there's all sorts of cool things, but and 100% of that money goes to charity, but it still goes to another charity. You know what I mean? It's not going directly to the people in need. That's part of the business. It's part of the way that charities are set up. But yeah, it's cool. So I guess to that point, how did you guys determine like who are those people that you're sending it to?
So the first thing that we kind of did was reach out to. We did it in two tiers. The first way was people that are immediately like in our social network, that know us, that follow us, that look at the things that we do. And in our case, because we're such a like grassroots business, a lot of people that follow us are like people that aspire to do the same things we do, but they're not quite there yet. So we knew it would be, there's not necessarily a fund that's like, damn, I want to help the freelance photographers or the independent designers and stuff like that. But we know just off like, interacting with our base, it's a lot of those people that follow us. And I freelanced before. I know at a time like this, if I was still freelancing, it's just like, man, you're fucked. You're literally, all those projects you were working on, people are just gonna disappear on you. So we use like our own base, and then we reached out to people that we knew that, because we wanted to help people outside of, I guess, the streetwear community too. So we reached out to people that we knew had like legs on the ground in certain areas that could. So our focus was like helping the West Side because that's where me and Joe are from, and helping the South Side because that's where Dez and Vic are from. So those are like all of the partners of Fat Tiger. So we were trying to, I guess, help out as naturally as possible because we kind of know people over there that need help, and we know people over there that are like actually like helping people because that's literally what they like doing. That's what they do even when it's not a crisis happening. They do it every day. So you have to kind of pull up to those type of people to point you in the right direction.
Cool.
The original thing we wanted to do that we decided against because social distancing and all of that, I did want to just go to the grocery store and just start buying people's groceries. Because before we decided to do this, maybe 4 days before I had this idea, a girl I went to high school with, I saw her grocery shopping, and she was like my little boo in high school. I saw her, she was like fucked up. And I'm like, yo, like, man, life is like real, like love her to death. Like, life is real, man. And I was just like, man, I wish I could like just help her out, man, like do something. Like it's like hard out here for people. Her spirits were still high. And I felt like just kind of bumping into her kind of pushed me like, yo, man, you gotta like, you gotta get out here and try to fucking help some people, man. Get off your ass. You know, sitting at the
Yeah.
house playing the PlayStation, playing with your kid, like you got to do something, man. That's not enough.
Yeah. I think it's super admirable that obviously you guys are a retail business, so there's no way you haven't been impacted by this, and yet you're still thinking about like how you can help other people. It's pretty admirable. So are you guys how is business? Is it affecting you like it's affecting the music industry and everybody else?
It's affecting us. We're taking a hit, but because Fat Tiger is like a vertical business where we only sell the stuff that we make.
Yeah.
We're in a unique situation where like we're not hit as hard as opposed to if you're a store that you sell basically 20 other brands, you're at the mercy of another company to kind of figure out if you'll still have products to sell or whatever the case is. Because if you sell these 20 brands, 15 of these brands can say, yo, we're just going to chill right now and not waste energy shipping clothes. And also because you carry other people's brands, the margin of profit is different too. So with us, we're just, I guess we're the equivalent of like our business is set up like and I hate this because these are big box stores, but it's like an H&M or a Uniqlo or something like that,
Right.
where their whole thing is just selling their stuff.
Right.
So they'll always be able to like control their market a little bit better. And they'll be able to move a little bit more freely if stuff like this happens. Like with us, because we make our own stuff, we can just say, damn, we can just make something for the people to give back. And because we make our own stuff, all of the stuff that was set to release or roll out is already paid for. It's already just sitting at the shop. So when it gets to the point where we're like, well, we have to roll out real retail stuff again, we're still equipped to do that because we control production. The only thing that this kind of did for us is shut down pop-up shops. Like I literally was coming back from meeting with galleries in Los Angeles to do an art show down there, which would have been basically this weekend. Like as soon as I went to like one of my last meetings, I think LA had started locking down. And I was like, yo, what the fuck is happening? And I had a meeting with Fred Siegel, and the guy was like, you still wanted to meet? It's crazy, man. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but if this dude is freaking out, I think I'm going to go back to Chicago and get the fuck from out of California.
Good call.
And then as soon as I get back here, it's like, oh, yeah, guess what? You're locked down in Chicago, too. I was coming in like, man, they are tripping in L.A. It's crazy out there. I get here, and it's just like, go to sleep, after getting back, wake up. Oh, newsflash, buddy, y'all locked down, too.
Yeah. So with your pop-ups, you think people are going to be rushing back once social distancing calms down, or are y'all
pop-up shops are over with probably until April of next year. The pop-up shops are over with.
Right.
The only way the only scenario where maybe pop-ups can work is if we decide to do like small market pop-ups. But New York, LA, Miami, like all of that shit is done. Right. I'm not going to New York for anything.
True.
It's just
because you told the date April out there. So are you guys still actively like looking at your calendar and being like, okay, this is what we're trying to do for the rest of the year? Are you still planning as if, I know you have to account for Corona and all that, but are you still mapping out the rest of the year, and are you trying to figure out what 2021 is looking like, or are you just playing it month by month right now?
We have like, I guess a bunch of like, what if, like if or cause and effect scenarios. If this happens, then we'll do this. If this doesn't happen, then we'll do this. I think right now the store is set where we haven't released anything like new that's in at the shop, because our idea is if the country opens back, or if Illinois opens back up by like the end of the second week of May, we're going to open the store back up with everything that we never put out and that we were sitting on. We're going to do like kind of a big welcome back, congratulations, you survived the apocalypse type of sale. If that doesn't happen, we'll pick out things that are at the store that are still suitable for people while they're at the house. Like we got, I got like some more slippers coming out. So that might be something, all right, that's going to have to just get put on the release calendar because it's just there. And, there's something that people will get it fit off around the house with these. So this still works.
Right.
But I also have toys coming out. The toys were, and that's probably the biggest loss that I personally took, is having to sit on all these toys. Because that's some shit, I just can't go online with those. It'll be like, and also we don't want to just randomly put stuff online and burn out energy.
Right.
So we also got it, and that's why it depends on when everything opens up. Now, it might get to the point where it's like, hey, man, you just got to put it online just because you don't have any other choice.
Yeah, and it seems like you've been sensitive to the needs of the consumer and not being like, hey, check out this new gear, check out this new stuff, and kind of falling back from that, because I've seen some people try and go out and start selling stuff but for the most part, unless you're worried about groceries first and foremost right now. It's not like you want to go out and buy clothes. So it's good that you have that sensitivity of like, we're not flooding you right now, but it is going to get to a point where, hey, we're going to have to put this stuff out here for sale.
I don't know how many more times I can wear the same sweatpants though. So like there is something there is something to that.
I can't lie. I finally put on a new hoodie in honor of my man Rello coming to Vegas.
Yeah. But I purchased a couple of things while being in quarantine because I'm like, yo, man, this shit'll be over soon. Let me go ahead and get my summer outfits together. And now just wasting my money on some shoes. And I have nowhere to wear this. I don't want to wear this to the Corona grocery store.
Right. And yeah, because even if things come back in May, it's gonna be hard pressed to see people flooding to clubs and bars instantly.
Yeah.
You know?
Clubs, bars, movie theaters, and concerts. Unfortunately, that's who gets this shit the worst.
Yeah.
I feel like right now it's kind of like pushed as specifically restaurants have it the worst. I was arguing with people on Twitter about this. I don't think restaurants have it the worst. If you own a bar or a lounge or a music venue and that's what you do, you're fucked up right now. Because even in theory, everything can't open back up at one time. And if you have a music venue, you're going to be on the list of the last things to open back up.
Yeah.
You can't go on Grubhub and you can't,
Yeah, nobody's getting the tater tots from Lincoln Hall.
Yeah. Wow, man, I really want those tater tots right now. No, man, you in the gym.
True. Yeah, because some restaurants are doing, mostly all restaurants are doing some type of delivery. Even some of your bars are trying to like put together batch cocktails. But if you're just strictly music venue, then yeah, what else do you have going on?
Yeah, like those places that are like specialty businesses have it rough. Because you need to be open and operating. If you're a specialty business, 9 times out of 10, you need to be open and operating and to be able to like bring your money in and really, really like work your value. Yeah. Like restaurants are gonna be okay, man. I'm sorry. There might be some restaurateurs watching. You guys be okay. Sorry.
I mean, you're talking to our client base right now, and I agree with you. I mean, I feel like musicians can figure it out. They can still figure out a way to make it, you can get your music out there and you can record and use this time. Restaurants can sell online. They can figure out different ways of doing it. But yeah, if you're strictly a venue, I don't know. I hope you own the building because you're not paying rent for a long time.
You're a sports bar and there's no sports on right now. It's like,
but you can still send people that cheeseburger.
That's true.
True indeed.
Yeah. All right, cool. Well, we appreciate you spending time with us. And is there going to be another campaign similar to what you guys just did, you think?
So right now, my partner Joe has something going where now this week we're taking money and we're giving it to Black-owned businesses to kind of help them with whatever they need. Pick like 5 businesses. So we're gonna roll that out. Well, that's been rolled out already. Next week, I think will probably be a week of everybody needs to just sit the fuck down, hang with their families, stop trying to do stuff, stop trying to keep busy, just kind of chill out. And a week after that, it's time to figure out, all right, what do we do with Fat Tiger?
Mhm.
Do we, stay idle? One thing we wanted to do was to start doing workshops online, but it's like the timing got to be right. Don't nobody want to hear me talk about, hey man, here's how you can be a better freelancer when you don't fucking have nobody to freelance for.
True.
So
All right,
we're just trying to be mindful, man. That's all.
Gotcha. Awesome. Thank you for spending some time with us today, man.
No problem.
thank you.
Yeah. So this is episode 2 of Quarantine Radio. Eddie Sanders here, Josh Kaplan. Shout out to Terrell for coming on.
Thanks
yeah.
to Akin. Stay home. Stay safe.
And shout out to Fat Tiger and all the great work those guys do over there, man.
Shout out to the Tiger, baby.
All right.
Love, I'm out there.
All right, guys. Until
Later.
next time, Lawyers for Musicians, and we are out.
All right.